is Rebecca Ricks. I'm here with the Homeschool Connection, and I'm just going to take a couple minutes and talk to you a little bit about what do you need to know for Algebra 1 and Algebra 2. And so, of course, I'm having my mid-morning coffee. So while I'm taking my mid-morning coffee, I'm going to talk to you. Now, we're talking about Algebra 1 and Algebra 2, which is one of my favorite subjects. I love to talk about Algebra 1 and Algebra 2. But I am setting my timer so we can do a quick 5-minute teaching tip. So really quickly, we're going to talk about just in 5 minutes, what do you need to know to start Algebra 1 and Algebra 2. So first of all, let's talk about Algebra 1. You know what? I really feel like if you're starting Algebra 1, what do you need to know? Most importantly, you really need to know your math facts. I cannot say that enough. I cannot hound that enough. For everything, you need to know your math facts. So here's how your brain works. Your brain, let's say it has 10 units. So if you have 10 units of brain space, when you have to stop and think of a math problem, especially algebra, if you're doing multiple steps, you're going to have to stop and think, and you're going to start using those brain units, those 10 units. Well, usually you use about 5 or 6 of those units a math problem, and then you move on. Well, if you're stopping and having to add or think about subtraction or multiplication or division, you're already using 3 or 4 of those units in your brain. And then all of a sudden, your brain can get full. We call it being stressed out or being out of units. You can't think, and sometimes kids will just get deer in the headlights. Their mind will go completely blank because they've had too much. You have to think of too many processes at one time. Kind of like when your computer reboots. So that is my main reason why I think math facts are so important for Algebra 1. Usually we're going to review and reteach positive and negative numbers. All those basics of math that you need to know, we're going to teach. A second thing for Algebra 1, is fractions. But fractions really depend on you knowing your multiplication table. So sometimes kids have fear of fractions. I call it fraction fear. Have fraction fear because they don't know their multiplication tables really well. So everything like multiplication tables are the foundation of all your upper math. If you have that, then you can pretty much use that and do everything. So I would say fractions and multiplication tables, addition facts, subtraction facts are what you have to know for Algebra 1. Now, Algebra 2 is a whole different ball of wax. I love Algebra 2. It is my favorite class to teach. I just enjoy it mostly because there is no point of reference for Algebra 2. It's all new material, and I love seeing kids really learn and understand it. So for Algebra 2, you do really need to know a couple harder Algebra 1 facts. If you don't know your positive and negative and how to add and subtract and multiply and divide those in your head quickly, you're not going to really be able to do it. The number 2 thing that I think is so important for Algebra 2 is factoring. It is something you learn in Algebra 1. Some books teach it more at the beginning, in the middle, but usually when you take a good Algebra 2 book, they're going to assume that you know how to factor. And if you don't know how to factor, you're behind the 8 ball. So maybe I'll do another video sometime about how to factor, teach you how to factor. But factoring for me is one of the most important things that you ever learn. It's like multiplication tables for upper math. If you can factor, you can take over the world in upper math. Now, also fun fact for Florida, if you're in Florida, you do not need to take Algebra 2 to graduate from high school in the state of Florida. You do need 4 maths, but Algebra 2 is not one of them, which I love to hate, makes me a little sad, but there are some students who really struggle through Algebra 1. Why are we pulling them through Algebra 2? And if you don't need it for something you're going to go to college for, there's not a huge reason to take it. But if you do, I do enjoy teaching it, so I enjoy teaching it and helping students understand and see it. But another thing that you really need to know for Algebra 2 would be systems of equations. So my 3 things for Algebra 2 would be positive and negative numbers, factoring, systems of equations, and you could really add in all your graphing knowledge there. Y equals mx plus b, distance formula, all those things that are kind of just sum up of geometry. Now, here's another little pointer. You can also take Algebra 1 more than once, okay? So if you go through Algebra 1 and you don't get it, take Algebra Algebra 1 more than once. That would kind of be another tip. In Florida, we call it Math for College Readiness, or not Math for College, sorry, Liberal Arts Math. That's just Algebra 1 again. You can also take Algebra 2 more than once. Really, Math for College Readiness is all your Algebra 2 knowledge again to help you before you go on to a calculus or something like that. So hopefully that was a little bit of a hint there. So for Algebra 1, math facts, fractions, get all that basic math knowledge. Algebra 2, oh, there's our timer. You need to know positive and negative numbers, factoring, systems of equations, and all your graphing. Make sure you have that down really well, and you will be super successful in Algebra 1 and Algebra 2. All right. Hopefully, if you have any questions or anything, you can like and comment below on your questions about Algebra 1 and Algebra 2. And I hope that was a help for you. Remember, for homeschooling or anything, you're not alone. We are here to help you. Until next time.